Hi, my name is Kei Nakagawa, and I'm a fourth-year medical student and co-founder and CEO of Whitekoat. Really excited to show you what our product is about. It's Google Earth for medical images. So after my first year of medical school in the summer, I went to India, rural India, to work on piloting a maternal health tool for cell phones. And I got to participate in various training sessions for healthcare workers like this. And one of the epiphanies for me is that, as you can see in this image, the common denominator is actually that we're all visual learners. And so we all learn, whether you're in a US medical school, a European medical school, or medical school in rural India, diagrams, images, tactile learning is really key, and it actually is the cross-cultural common denominator for learning. The problem is that we needed a lot more of those kind of training sessions. So the WHO reports that there's a critical shortage in health workers around the world. 4.3 million healthcare workers are needed to fill that gap. That leads to over 4 million people around the world who get no healthcare services or very limited to no quality healthcare services. The key is medical education technology is a way for us to bridge that gap, because by allowing more access to quality, high state-of-the-art technology, we can actually train healthcare workers, medical students, nursing students faster. We can train them more remotely, and ultimately that's going to lead to more healthcare workers and better health outcomes for the 4+ million people who don't have it right now. Technology is the problem and the solution. So if you look at these two images, you see that there's actually two opposites of the extremes. So one, you see a digital cadaver. Very few medical schools, even in the US, have access to that technology. And then you have models, which are stuff that I used in anatomy lab and in the medical school here. Whitecoat Images is about making sure that state-of-the-art medical education technology can be accessible for anybody in the world. Imagine a microscope in every web browser. Here you see a medical image library that's searchable, and you can just zoom in and out of a microscope slide as if you're looking right into a light microscope. That's Google Earth for medical images. And it's coupled with a Kindle-like library of thousands and thousands of slides and medical images that's instantly searchable one click away. Now all of that technology fits right inside of your pocket. Pretty cool. We're actually not working with just microscope images. We're looking at CT scans, MRI scans, ultrasounds, skin images. All of that can fit right inside your pocket. Everybody around the world who's a healthcare student or healthcare worker now has phones, cell phones, smartphones. Internet is getting more and more accessible all around the world. But this is the key that bridges that gap. So we're working with medical schools, organizations around the world to build the world's largest medical image library. So as you can see, we're already well on our way to doing that. The business opportunity is very clear. The World Health Organization, other major multilateral agencies have identified that increasing access to health worker education is a critical solution to solving the critical healthcare shortage. Global aid for health is hitting a record high. Over $30 billion goes to global aid for healthcare. More and more of that is going toward health education, capacity building, and training. And everyone is identifying technology as the best way to deliver that remotely to as many people as you possibly can. And our system is in prime position to make that happen. We're a web-based system that can be accessed anywhere in the world. It's cost-effective, and it's also customizable for medical students, nursing students, healthcare workers, healthcare professionals. We can adapt that to any kind of context. Now, long term, the business opportunity starts to get even more exciting with AI. The conversation around machine learning is transitioning from algorithms to data. Machine learning is getting more and more commoditized every single day with Google open sourcing TensorFlow, Facebook with Caffe. But as machine learning is getting more commoditized, the competitive advantage becomes less the algorithm, but the data that you have to train the machine learning. And for us, we are having a superior data set for smarter AI. And as machine learning as a service for healthcare becomes more and more widely used, we're going to be in a great position to take advantage of that business opportunity. We have a great, committed, diverse team of medical professionals, students, as well as mathematicians and engineers who've been working on developing the technology over a couple years. So join our movement to democratize medical education, a social mission that's fueled by business growth, so that all of us can actually have state-of-the-art medical education technology accessible instantly. By combining the two, we can revolutionize medical education together. Thank you very much.
All right, so for those of you that are new here, we start the Q&A session, which will last 10 to 20 minutes, depending on how many questions. And I know you guys have a lot, I hope. We start every Q&A session by asking, what can the community do to help you? So this is your chance to, ask for connections, feedback, whatever is most important to you. So we'll start with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're really trying to broaden the scope of partnerships. I think that there's obviously medical schools, even universities and community colleges that have anatomy courses or biology courses where our technology can really help. We'd love to have introductions to various educational institutions as well as higher level organizations like we have contacts to the WHO and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, various organizations, but we're very open to anybody who's like, hey, you should talk to this organization that might be interested in partnering with you. We're looking for the geographic reach as well as content, and so those are the two main things that we're really looking for right now.
Great, thanks. All right, so now we'll open up to Q&A from all of you. So if you have a question, now's your chance.
So, very cool product. What's the competitive landscape like? Because I mean, as great, it just seems, after you say it, it seems so obvious.
Thanks.
But it seems like an amazing product and very helpful. Are there competitors out there, and how big?
Yeah, it really depends on how you frame the competitive landscape. So we've kind of sliced and diced that a few ways. So one is in medical education. So there's a lot of competitors in medical education space, primarily more on giving questions and question banks. So like Kaplan is obviously a big one. There's also other more high level, like American College of Physicians has their own question banks. So in the medical education space, it's really more about, there's Quit and Quizlet, Study Blue, all of them that are question and answer based study tools. Now there's also medical imaging. So in medical imaging, if you look at it from a educational platform, we are pretty unique, but there are apps out there that have medical images, not quite in the way that we're doing it, but there are some medical imaging apps out there. And then I think on machine learning, we're really, like I said, it's a long-term strategy because there's a number of companies like IBM Watson or Zebra that are going really deep dives into very specific pathologies. And we want to really focus more on medical education, edtech, that transitions into a medtech strategy. So an image gallery is pretty unique in that kind of application.
So, does anybody else?
Go for it.
So the education seems straightforward, but as you get into like medical,
like medtech,
medtech with real patients,
right?
And you're transmitting these images. Is there any sort of HIPAA compliance issues that you have to get across?
Yeah, so I'm pretty familiar with HIPAA because I worked on the High-Tech Act at the Congressional Budget Office with EMR Meaningful Use, and so I actually know very well how much of a pain it is to do HIPAA, and we're therefore intentionally leaving that at stage 2 because though I do know what it takes to be HIPAA compliant, right now with medical education, we don't have to deal with HIPAA. This is more textbook level educational resources. But because our whole stack is off the Amazon AWS architecture, HIPAA compliance is actually more or less a flip of the switch in terms of being able to do end-to-end encryption, all those things. But HIPAA compliance also requires a lot of business processes. And you need to hire a lot of different personnel to make sure that the business processes are supporting the encrypted architecture. So I think that you're really onto something. It's something that we've thought about as a long-term approach, but we don't want to really touch that until we make a significant fingerprint in the medical education space first. Yeah.
No question. So I love the presentation. I'm definitely a visual learner, so having these visual cues are definitely helpful. I definitely couldn't tell the difference between a petri dish that has mucus versus something else. So I guess my question would be, from someone like me who's just starting out in the medical field, how do you guys build credibility into the images that you're sourcing in? I guess, how do you provide content? Is it just Joe Schmo who's as a med student wants to upload?
Right.
How do you vet that accuracy of what he is doing being injected into the system?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we are very particular about who gets to contribute to our medical image library. We are right now close to the medical community only, so anal medical students, anal medical professors, who really are perfectionists at the end of the day. And though we do envision that this will actually be a resource for everybody in the world to use someday, we really want to stay away from a Wikipedia kind of branding where like anybody can do it. We want this to start out as a tool for medical professionals that ultimately gets released for other people to take advantage of. And so I can't really give you a concrete timeline actually of when we would feel comfortable to open it beyond the medical community, but that also ensures that the quality of the content is really good. Now to your first point though, I do want to, something that I also like to remind everyone is that everybody in this room here, we're all smart enough to actually read a chest x-ray. We're all smart enough to actually read an ultrasound or MRI scan, even though it seems like that gap is huge. If we can point out the heart to you on a chest x-ray, and the lung and the diaphragm on the chest x-ray, you would know, you would start getting it, It's just that you probably don't want to go through 4 years of hell of studying to actually just be able to do that. So even there is this really unique opportunity for technology to really make medical information much more accessible for every single one of you guys. But first is, let's do that for medical students, let's do that for healthcare professionals, let's do that to accelerate the problem we have with the critical shortage of healthcare workers, and then let's see if we can do that for the rest of the world.
So you mentioned longer term, you're looking at machine learning and AI data sets.
Mm-hmm.
What would the kind of vehicle or implementation of that be? Would it be for diagnosing?
No, we're really, since more than half of our team is medical, we don't really believe in just using AI to replace doctors or even completely take over some of those workflows. I think that what AI can really do is move toward a more synergistic collaboration between medical professionals and medical data, right? And so clinical decision support is one approach where we can actually save the doctor time. We can save, for now, medical students time to study because you don't need to search on the web all day long to just find that one image. So I think our vision for applying machine learning and AI is how do we help doctors and medical students, healthcare professionals, and even patients spend more time doing what they're trained for and doing less time of stuff that AI can just kind of do to that are menial tasks.
Go for it.
Great presentation, right? I get the idea of what you're doing. My big question is, what kind of company are you trying to be, right? Are you, a B Corp? Are you trying to make money from this? Are you a nonprofit? And as a follow-on question to that, given that you're kind of in the image space and you're talking about machine learning and searching a vast amount of information, have you reached out to Google to see, they have the Alphabet, I guess is now the company, right? Have you reached out to Alphabet because I would imagine they're looking to invest in this type of company in this particular space, and their technology seems very well suited for what you're doing. So 2 questions.
So B Corp, I think we're not quite, even though we do share a social mission, I think that we're focused on sustainability and scalability. We can't help people, and then ultimately if we run out of money or we're not growing, then we have to pull the rug out from under them. So we're very interested in becoming a sustainable, scalable business first, which is founded on a social impact mission. I think Google would be very interested in, not the algorithm as much, because they're very advanced in that, but the data set that we're curating. I think a lot of companies, even Microsoft Research is really big on medical imaging and computer vision. So I think that there's a lot of companies that be very interested in our data sets. Right now, we're just focused on implementing and scaling among the education sector. So we haven't really reached out to them, but it's definitely a group of companies that we'd be very interested in partnering with or getting funding from.
Cool. Just a quick follow on that. How do you plan to make money in the future? Are you charging the institutions? Are you charging the doctors?
Right, so there's actually a two-pronged approach. So in areas like Africa, and we're actively talking with organizations, pretty big organizations that play in that space. Like I said, there's $31 billion that go to that funding. And medical schools don't really have as much budgets to pay for technology, but that's where those organizations fit in. So I think that they're looking for solutions just like Whitekoat. Now, in other places like the United States, their medical schools in the US are in the business of training the best medical students. And right now, there's a black box in terms of how the medical student thinks. Our data-driven analytics that's actually behind the scenes running on all of the entire platform can really give deeper, much deeper insights on how different students are studying, who's struggling and why. And those are things that academic advisors or the medical school administration, I think, would be very interested in purchasing. And so we already have a medical school, as a customer. So we're pretty confident that once we build out the content, the technology full out, there's going to be a lot of curriculum-based, advanced curriculum tools that also could provide revenue.
I would suggest including that in future presentations,
Okay.
even if not like talking specific partners or even dollar amounts, just like how are you going to monetize, like here are the 3 different things that we're, even if it's 3 things we're considering and you don't know which one is going to end up at, that would be helpful, because I think you did a really good job on the what you're doing and what your mission is. But if this was a room of investors, you missed the most important part, right? How am I going to make money?
Right. Thanks. Yeah. I think
Just a quick comment. I mean, in here we're all friendly, so I don't think we're all pulling out our checkbooks. But in future presentations, that may be
For
more
sure.
critical.
Yeah. I mean, we've assessed that market, and medical education alone is about a $500 million market just alone. So there is a clear business model even in the ed tech stage as well as in the med tech stage.
I think any industry or any product that goes into the medical industry itself, it got money to spend. I used to work for some medical industries that had conferences, and it was just entrepreneurs coming together to showcase their products to surgeons and whoever, and they were just signing checks. I think you're in the right place to pitch for something like that. One question I did have though, because my background's more for AI and data technology and analyzing it.
Cool.
I would like to learn a little bit more about how that works on the back end, because I think the way that you set it up, there's a lot of potential to even gamify it for education, to even do image recognition technology, to say, hey, you're a doctor or a surgeon, you've done some research and you're uploaded your image, now you have your portfolio of images. Well, maybe some of those images are similar to something else that's been uploaded to somebody else, and it can now match that and say conclusively, this is exactly what this is that you're looking at.
Yeah.
Or I'm Joe Schmo, and I don't know what I'm looking at, and I say, hey, shoot this out to the ether in this app,
Right.
and maybe it'll grab something that is similar that someone else has already uploaded, and now you have a connection of people that have a similar experience doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So that could be something that you maybe integrate or maybe have already considered.
No, I like the way you think. I think what you saw today is about 40% of our product, and the other side is us working on gamification, also social networking, collaboration are 2 of the big areas where we also.
It's flexible.
Yeah,
I like
totally.
that. It's definitely flexible. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Have we got time for one more?
I was just wondering, right now, is it just a web app or is it also a native app on Android and iOS?
Yeah, so it's just a web app. We went with a mobile-first design because having a native app is basically triple the cost, because you have your web app and then you need an engineer for iOS and an engineer for Android. I mean, even if we're thinking about like React Native, where you don't have to have as much of a triple effect, but it's still double the cost. So we want to nail down the UX and the UI and make sure that we're seeing really good traction numbers on our KPIs before we invest in an engineer for native apps. But to your point, it's something that really stresses me out as attention, because I want to build a native app, and I think we're just trying to be very disciplined with how we allocate our resources. Great. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.